Hi, Reinhard. Welcome back to our next session. And yes, there was a little bit gap in between, but good to see you back. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Hope you yourself are fine.
Yeah, I'm doing very well and enjoying sunshine of San Francisco. It's a beautiful place to be. Yeah. So look, we have talked about projectification, project economy in the past. So in the continuation, we are looking for more discussion around ideas to reality. First of all, we need to have ideas, and somebody has idea. How can we make it possible as real? Of course, we talk about project management and having right skilled people to do that. So we're going to talk about what skill sets are going to be utilized or useful when you are moving the organization from ideas into the projectized organization. Any thoughts on this?
That's, that's a very important question because we believe it's the skills of the people engaged in projects that make a difference. If you have an idea, sometimes it's really pretty difficult to bring it into reality. There are so many steps in between, so many people and stakeholders that you need to engage and involve and so on. So basically for me, it means you need to have skills to create a collaborative environment. So to attract that idea to other people, so that the people say, yeah, that's something that's interesting, that's something compelling. I want to be part of that journey. And that also means that we need to have skills in communication, in marketing, and building relations to people, and to engage them in that kind of endeavor that we call projects. And that is not that easy because right nowadays in these times, people are distracted by a lot of noise, whether it's on social media or in all kinds of media. You hear a lot of stuff. So I think one of the key skills is for a project manager to attract this idea of the project to enough people and engage them in the process of making that happen. So I think it's a lot of social skills. It's not so much yet technical. Later, if it comes to an implementation, then also a lot of methodologies and techniques are needed. But at the beginning, I think it's more this spirit of the idea to encourage people to join the journey, I think, which is important. Would you see it the same way?
Yeah. So look, idea can be big or small. And first thing first, we should be able to sell the idea to the right people. And you said engaging the right stakeholders. So whether you need money for that, idea is idea at the moment. But if you want to go to moon, people will not believe it like that. You need to demonstrate why going to moon is important for the humankind and what is required. Of course, deliverable part will be different. First of all, justification. What is this idea all about? What is the gain? What is the benefit? So that's where your salesman of pitching will come very, very useful. So that's where I see, and then having funding allocated, having the right people allocated, and take everybody on journey with making it real as well. It may take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but everybody is believing in that, creating a vision for that, and believing in the vision and showing and selling the vision.
Yeah, I think if you go into societal development in Europe, there was a long time this Friday for Future movement, the social movement, because the young generation kids at school, they felt we need to do something about the nature and climate and so on. And I'm not sure whether they used, let's say, techniques like sales or pitching or so on. They just had a real important idea. But what made that idea really intangible for all the other kids was there were some, let's say, visionaries who said, okay, we need to do something. And they spread that idea with also a very clear mind, with a compelling message, with this kind of passion to the people, where a lot of people say, oh, wow, that's something different. That's something that speaks to my heart. I want to be part of that. And so building this kind of movement, I think it's very important. And I think in project management, we sometimes need to look into that, how such a social movement engage the stakeholders. And there were months last year, especially, where millions of kids were on the streets joining that movement. They were not in school as they were supposed to. But also even the parents said, we support that because it is better that the kids now do something about the climate. And even our government in Germany, Angela Merkel, she spoke with those kids. And also the legislative process, they incorporated some ideas of that. And what is better than a social movement triggers the government to do something about climate. And I wish sometimes we have the same in projects, if there's a really good idea, so that we use these kind of skills to make that movement happen and engage more and more stakeholders.
Yeah, so that's a great example where the kids get together and talking about how to save the planet, and government get engaged. Yes, so those skills are applicable to even the project management whenever. Or maybe before the project manager get involved, the sponsor, who is the one who's bringing the idea. So and have enough sponsorship that that can help the whole program to move forward. So, as in any organization, you have multiple sponsors. Every sponsor comes with a different idea, and the idea goes to the portfolio manager or portfolio managers to pick the best idea. So that's where the selling required, demonstrating the value generated from this particular initiative. So that's where they talk about value generated, benefit realization part, and demonstrating how this will change the way the organization functioning now or in future.
I fully agree, but that's the language of business, right? With sponsors and business case and things. And sometimes I feel that in project management, we should also look into other areas. Again, more in these societal areas, social movements, because they are very successful ones. If you look into, at least in Europe, Greenpeace, or Transparency International, whatever you see it. I think they have a skill set that we are sometimes missing in the business world, of engaging people, of drawing a compelling case, where you do not really need a business case or something, but the idea speaks to the heart of the people. And that's what you call empathy. So I translate it into the language. It is a mission that everyone can accept and undersign with his own blood, so to speak. And then as a project manager of such an endeavor, it's pretty easy, because you do not need to engage people. They are by themselves. And I think that should be levered in projects, let's say for innovative ideas, even in the business or economy world, that we use that approach more maybe than we did in the past.
So what do you think, like, many times project managers are given a project to do and get it done. But if, first thing first, they should be connecting themselves with the bigger picture.
Absolutely. That's the point.
Yeah, and so that they are motivated, their teams are motivated. Because if you just do another project, they don't know the bigger picture. Sooner or later, they're not excited about it. They will see this another project and routine work. So that's where the project manager, even the manager or sponsor who is bringing this idea, they need to build that vision for that. I know I'm talking project language, program language, and business language.
Yes.
But at the same time, whether you talk about societal program or project work, having the future, what is the outcome of this particular initiative? Whether climate change, these kids getting together, they need to believe that when we get thousands of millions of people to get together, we can actually put pressure or encourage the political powers to take some action. So they have to believe in that vision. Somebody has to create that vision. So, and because having a vision helps you to enroll other people into that idea.
Dharam, I think we are speaking now about motivation and self-determination. Because if you need to draw someone into a project, I think it's a difficult thing. Because if he's not by heart with that project or engaged in that project, I think it's very difficult. You are just doing your job and so on. And I think we are both in line saying we need people fully engaged, fully motivated. And now let's speak about motivation. That's something intrinsic. So the question is always, what do the people really want themselves? And there's a self-determination theory. It's from the US. Deci and another professor were building that self-determination theory, and they say people are always striving for competence, so to master their own lives, to demonstrate that they do it right, so that they achieve something, that they strive for, let's say, a bigger goal and bigger expectation. The second one is relatedness. They do not want to do it alone. They need people. And so this relatedness, building relationships, doing it together, this teamwork is something really important to them. And now the third one, and that's maybe more difficult in the business world, that's autonomy. Because they also want to shape their project and the environment themselves. And this is what is a precondition for agile project management, by the way, because it's self-organization, building on these exactly three pillars, autonomy, relatedness, and competence. And that has a huge impact on leadership or sponsorship of projects, because you cannot just tell people do that project. So you need to have the right people doing it, and right means the people with the right intrinsic motivation to do it. And then it's pretty easy to do a project because we are motivated to do it.
Yeah. Such environment where people are motivated, getting the results often much faster, much easier than when you have to bring them, show them, and excite them. It takes a lot of time. This way, a lot of skills required to engaging with them. So,
absolutely, yeah.
So how do you motivate?
It means also for a project or a program that you need to select the right people to do a project. So if you fail in that selection, I think you have people just doing a job, but if you have the right motivation and interest, and that's a process that you need to go through to recruit or select and engage the right people to the project. I think that's a key thing for leadership.
But Reinhard, we have limitation of resources, and of course limited on the funding as well. Like I want to hire the best person in the world, but I cannot afford to pay. And so many times, you have to live with not the best people, not the highest skilled people, and not the highest motivated people. So how do you take them from this journey to, bring them to where they start performing?
Yes, if we only look at, let's say, the formal qualification, it may be true that we do not have the right people. But I think that's not enough to just look at formal qualification in engineering or IT or whatever it is. Now, again, I'm going a step or level deeper, looking at what drives that person. And I think for me, it's more important to have the people with the right drive in the team, which I then can coach and support, building, let's say, more the formal qualification, because that's easier than just think the opposite, that you have people with the right formal qualification, but no drive or self-determination. That's we say in German, we have a saying: if you need to carry the dog to the hunt, I think that's not working, and that's exactly also not working in projects. So I think it's maybe both, but it's easier to build a formal qualification through training and coaching and support of those people than if they are not doing it by heart.
Yeah, I mean, that's where there has to be driver in them, so they're really passionate about it. And I think the people with passion, or they're connected with the real cause or the bigger cause, they really do wonders, because they're connected. They're not feeling tired, and that is where the people, if you want to get the work done, if they are motivated, passionate, they are self-drivers. They're not only taking themselves towards that direction, but also everyone along, they show them, hey, this is the reason we should be doing it, because they themselves are motivated, they are passionate, and they do show the direction to the right people. Those people are the followers.
And that's a problem in many organizations I'm working with, also big, large companies, because they have so many rules and regulations and processes and roles and RASIC and whatever. But they don't care much about the intrinsic motivation of those people. And the longer people are in such a system, the more I think it's covered, and the more this passion is lost in the people, and they just do a formal job. And I think what a project manager really needs to awake in them, what is their real passion, what's really in them, intrinsic. And then you can, even with the not formally best people in the team, can climb high mountains and can do the extra mile, but you need to do something about it. And that's through questioning, informal talks, building a bridge, a trust relationship with the people, and then you discover, oh, it's a totally different person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you read that book, 7 Habits of Successful People, from Stephen Conway. So one of the things he was talking about, so this person sees this dog, and he's fantastic dog. He can do all kind of activities, jumping up in the air and catching this and that. So he was impressed, and he said, okay, I want to buy this dog and bring the dog at home. And he chained the dog because he was worried that he may run away, and giving limited options. So, and after some time, when he expecting, hey, my dog is not doing what he was supposed to do, he was doing those things when I saw him. So what did you do as a manager to refining those skills? Instead of refining those skills, we actually suppress the skills. And what you're saying, that when we are the routine job, day in, day out, people are not connected, people are not motivated. And then you expect, hey, this was a very big speaker, good speaker, is not that same person. He was the leadership skills. What happened to the leadership skills? Because his skills or her skills are now suppressed by the system or the processes you have built around.
I think you're touching also on a very important point, that's leadership.
Yeah.
Because also leadership now is changing. If you want to have these kind of people, leadership is a very different role. It's not to tell the people what they do, how they do it, when they do it, and what kind of tools they should deploy, because people then say, okay, I just follow that. And then they go privately, maybe bungee jumping or kite surfing, and they are totally different in business or in the project, and then privately. And now, if you can bring that energy and passion from the private life of those people into that project, imagine what you really can do. But that means that the leadership is exactly trying to bring the best team together, also a diverse team of complementary skills and competences together, that he's giving the space of that intrinsic motivation so that they can play out their motivation, but that is or she is helping in a way, supporting, coaching, giving direction. I think that's also something which is important in the self-organizational context. But stay a bit in the background, not being the grand zampano, being at the forefront. So it's more, let's say, a humble way of showing leadership and give space to the people. I think that's a big change that is going on now, and turns a bit leadership theory or practice from top to bottom, right?
I think there's a term for that. They call it servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So where you are a leader, but you are serving your team to do the best.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have, is there any hurdles, any showstoppers, as a leader, it's your responsibility to make a way for them and let them go and win. Let them feel that they are the winners, not you. Often you see that, hey, if the project is successful, it's because of me. I'm the leader. And when it fails, it's because of them. So the failure goes to them and success goes to you. But as a servant leader, your leader you're taking the best out of them and take them to the best journey, and of course give them credit so they feel that they have earned or achieved something.
I would even go a step further. The question is, do we actually need leaders? Because the tendency, if one person is in a leadership role, he will be all the time in leadership roles, and he gets used to it, and maybe also puts himself or herself more in emphasis than it should be. So the question is also whether you share leadership. Because in maybe now putting an idea into, let's say, reality, means that maybe in the very early stage, where you have a lot of creativity going on and so on, a different leadership type or personality is needed. Then at the end, if you're going to production, then I think it's more this kind of lean and production type of leadership. And so if you have a rotating leadership role throughout the process from initiation, idea to reality, then I think that's also a good idea. So you share just leadership. And the former leader may be just the moderator, coordinator, or the bridge to the other organization.
Yeah, so rotational leadership, I think we're talking two different things. One is somebody who shows the direction. Hey, this is where we're going. And somebody leading the team. So the direction or vision is coming from, and has to come from the original person who started with that idea. But in the team, they are leading the teams. So these are the people, that's where you can change the leadership. And again, we're not talking about designation. You may be CEO of the company, you may be the PMO head of the company. No, these are just designation. CEO may not be the good leader. The good leader can be a simple, humble project manager who understand how this team, as a project manager, I can take my team to do the wonders. Who understand the, some basic principle of, how to motivate my team and excite them, make them passionate, and help us to win the business or win the war. In some cases, war.
I think leadership is an enabler. And enabling means the team working on this idea should be enabled to do so.
Yeah.
And that needs a bit also show a vision, clear goals, and also maybe the barriers. Okay, this is that up to that point you can work, but then if you reach that, I think there's also a stop to the project. I think that is every team needs something like that. Otherwise, it would be paradise or waste of time. But in the process, I think it's very much important to give space, this kind of shared leadership or rotating leadership to whoever is the best in doing that. And you have different phases in that innovation process. The beginning, it's more this co-creation, creative ones, and I think there's hardly leadership needed. because the team should work, brainstorm, blah, blah, blah. The more you come to the, let's say, realities or production or series development, I think the more you also need to bridge and link to the other organizational units, which may be more in that classical mode of working. They speak a different language, so you need a translator, actually, someone that synchronizes this innovation process with the rest of the organization. I just had today a big workshop with people that suffer from that because they need a very high dynamic project team, but then purchasing is in the old mode, and they need 6 weeks to get signatures on the purchase order. And they say, hey, we have 6 weeks time for that project phase. So that's not working together. So I think you also need these kind of translators between the traditional organizational parts and this project.
Yes, is a translator is important, but more important is, yes, bringing the whole organization or team talking the same language. And often we have seen that the ground level is now fully agile. And we have talked about it. They are agile, they're doing the work very fast, everything going good. But senior management is sitting there, they're expecting the reports and the discussion as it was happening previously in the waterfall or predictive way of doing things. So it is not the team only, but the executives has to align with that, the cultural change, transformation of them.
Yeah, and culture is, I think, the collective mindset of the people. And if their leaders do not understand that they need to give trust to the teams, that they need to give space and empower them to do their job, I think you can have totally dynamic and agile and whatever you call them teams, but they will not work because the environment is not created in that organization. And that's organizational, procedural, and especially cultural. The mindset doesn't really fit. Yeah. So yes, you also need that in the environment, and I think that's the key task of the leadership, to create that environment and enable making that innovation idea become a reality.
Exactly. So the leadership, collective effort with the right team, right mindset, passionate people, and of course you need some processes around, and taking everybody on the journey and make this idea to reality. So yeah, so that's the thing. That's what I think many organizations are moving towards that. They have an open space, creative space where people are sharing. Anybody can be leader. Whoever has the good idea, they take the leadership and then move everybody together to that direction. So it is. I think
still
we
a
are
big
moving
transformation.
Yeah.
It's still a long way for many organizations because it's a change. And many of those leaders don't want to be changed.
Yes.
It's about power, because they still have the resources, they have the money, they have, let's say, the say. So I think it will be difficult. Some of them will go to retirement, and then the youngest, I think, will do a different kind of leadership. But that's a change that is going on right now, especially after this COVID period. In many organizations, they need to see, okay, how can we speed up our business? How can we be more innovative? And that requires all these framework conditions. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, as you correctly said, the current leadership, if they're not changing, hopefully soon they will be retired. Only worry is when the younger leader, become leader, goes into the leadership group. They don't want. We don't want to see that those get changes as per the previous leadership team. They stays as themselves and still, bring the uniqueness, agility in the team, and take the organization from, from where they are to the next level.
Absolutely. And at Tiba, we did this year in the spring a big survey on the requirements of Generation Z, those young generation to organizations, and they say they see projects as this space for them to to live their life.
Yes.
They need also the freedom. They need space to maneuver from this leadership, and they expect it very clear. And they can nowadays choose jobs. And if organizations do not recognize that need or demand from this younger generation, they will not be attractive anymore. And the young people will choose other companies like startups or the smaller companies. So that's right now going on in many companies. And you have a son in that age. I have two sons. And the eldest of mine, he said, I will not go to a big company. I will go to a startup because I have more possibilities to self-actualize.
Self-actualize and, showing the inner, whatever, because everybody has something creativity. And if you don't get the chance to show the creativity, you don't feel happy. Yes, and you're right. The younger generation, they know what they, I'm not going to say they know absolutely everything, but they know where they're moving towards. And because the schooling system or education system is different than traditional, read it, go to the clerk job or office job and do whatever everybody's doing is just follow them and retire and go. But these people not thinking that, they are thinking, okay, that's a traditional way and it may be working, but I have to see different ways to come out with more creative, and more startups are happening. That's why we have so many startups are happening everywhere, because ideas are being encouraged. So bring your ideas, let's see what you have potential, and you never know, another big idea become real.
Sure, that's also generational. I think here in Germany, for example, after the war, everyone wanted to make his living and survive, let's say, minimizing risk. Now this generation is growing up in a time where I think they basically have their needs fulfilled. So it's a totally different starting point for them in the job, and it makes them very self-confident, and that's a good position to enter the job market. And many of them say, I don't want to hire or want to be an employee in a big company. I just want to do my own thing. And I wish in my youth I would have the, let's say, the possibility, but also the courage to do it. And very frankly, I was looking for a safe job and minimizing risks. And so this is why I find it really very encouraging to see that they are very self-confident and self-determined.
Yeah.
And motivated. And that's good.
And if you look at the Maslow's need hierarchy, so when we were, I don't know about your age, when my age, when we were in that age, we were more about getting the, basic needs fulfilled. Now that basic need is fulfilled, the security part is done, and they actually on the next level. They don't have to worry about food and, I'm saying
Wi-Fi.
So, and now they Wi-Fi has to be there and connectivity.
Basic need.
Basic need has changed. All right.
No, it's really a change going on, and I think that's good because they also like projects because, as I said, with the self-determination, that's exactly the container for them to do their jobs, and so I'm very positive towards the future expectation. As also that will push many organizations to change.
Exactly, and as the message is, let the younger generation or whoever has the idea, good idea, come out. Let them come out of and express it, and who knows, that idea can help the organization or to them to take it to the another reality. Perfect.
That's a good story.
Good. Thank you very much, Reinhard. As usual, the discussion was good. As we start with no script or nothing, we just keep going and talking. I think in that discussion, we are free flowing, and hopefully this is liked by people, and they will continue to come back and watch other next episode very, very soon. Thank you very much, Reinhard.
Thank you. And have a nice week, and see you next week.
Yeah, thank you.